Hey everyone, my name is Lamar with MedRank Interactive. This is the Healthcare Digital Marketing Podcast. I'm excited about this guest, Michael, Next Level Consultants. He's going to just showcase his knowledge and expertise in the management and consulting space in the healthcare community. And so, Michael, kind of give us some background before we go into this in-depth conversation. Give us some background of your experiences, your knowledge, your love for this space. Just love to kind of give the audience some background information on you.
Yeah, man. Lamar, first of all, thanks for having me on the show, man. I love doing these. They're fun. It's a way to give back, to the community. And I just think podcasting is super fun. So thanks for the invite.
Absolutely.
My background, kind of boring, but I guess interesting at the same time. I graduated from business school. I started working for a marketing company. Not so much full service marketing, but really direct mail specific. And we kind of got into a lot of the other stuff, the solution type stuff, tchotchkes and all that, but had some really big accounts and understood marketing, working with a lot of marketing directors, limited brands, some really big churches, Victoria's Secret. So got a flavor for what the big boys in marketing do, which was super cool. And that was my background, was marketing. Kind of felt like I tapped out a little bit on that. Was looking for something different and knew I wanted to get into healthcare.
Okay.
Knew that space was really growing and was kind of the next thing. And so I fell into a job with Bank of America. I was a dental lender for practice solutions and did a ton of loans. So I managed, I think, a 5-state territory, and anybody doing a medical, dental, or vet loan in 5 states, I was responsible for it. So if it came through the bank, it would have to go to me. Did that for a few years, relocated to Colorado for the bank, did that for a few years, which was super cool because I got to see like the mountain states and how those markets are different than the coastal markets, with valuation and you name it. So that was a good experience. Got a little tapped out on the transactional lending. And that's when I was like, man, I think I want to try consulting. So got into consulting and just never have turned back. So banking, marketing, and definitely now into the practice management space. So.
Man, that's awesome, man. A great journey. But it sounds like most people, right? It was getting in the dental space, medical community is an accident for most. It's just kind of how we all transition into a job that allows us to impact that community. So with your current company, kind of give us the background on what you offer, what you do. We'd love to learn more about that as well.
Yeah, I won't bore you and do the sales pitch, but just big picture, big picture. We try to be consultants that roll up our sleeves and deep dive into practices. So I worked for a consulting firm where I was the only coach on the account. Okay. And I feel like a lot of consultants do that, where they have a background and they deliver that background to their client. And I think that's totally fine.
Right.
Like if you came from front office, you would be a consultant and you'd be really good at front office. And that's probably where you would focus a lot of your passion in the coaching. But then you might suffer a little bit in the clinical, or you might suffer a little bit in the business and strategy side. So same with the clinical people. A lot of clinical people go into consulting and they focus on clinical. So I was in that position where I was focusing on strategy and business with that other firm, and I felt like I wasn't delivering what I wanted to. So our whole quote unquote pitch or mantra is real world experience. So I obviously coach on business and marketing, strategy and communication, but I have a partner who focuses on clinical. She's a hygienist of 30 plus years, owned a dental practice herself.
Oh, wow.
And then I have another coach, which is our front office coach. And she was in the front for a long time, coached a lot of front office managers at DSOs. So we as a pod or a group, 3-legged stool, as I say, approach every client with real world experience, where if a client was struggling with leadership, I jump in and take the lead. If If the client's suffering with clinical, Paula will come in and jump in on the lead. So it just depends on what you need and what you're struggling with.
Right.
But we have real world experience. So we're helping doctors grow their practice, fix real problems. And then another little sliver of what we do, not sliver, but we do quite a bit of it, is helping doctors get into ownership. So I would say half of our business is helping doctors get in, and then
Okay.
half of our business is helping them grow it, or an existing practice looking to grow. So one of the three.
Gotcha. So you're able to come in, from a business perspective to help these practices be more profitable, and whatever that business goal is for that doctor, right? Like if they want to open up multiple locations, or hire better staff members, or whatever that, retain patients better, you'll come in and really help with those issues, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, I mean, what some of the things that you just rattled off, it's pretty crazy how like fixing profitability isn't just like a one thing solve. Like
Right.
it's like a whole thing, and then creating culture and team and making them sticky, that's a whole thing. Like starts with leadership and works its way down. And so but yeah, it's amazing how, I always say like consultants or CPAs are great, love CPAs, this is no bash on them. I think they'll be the first to tell you though that they're going to help you fix the what, or figure out what is wrong, right, but they don't know how to fix it, right? Like, or they're not going to jump in and actually fix it. They're going to identify only.
Right.
So we're going to identify, and then we're going to jump in and roll up our sleeves. But like I said, there's two people that assist me in fixing these bigger issues.
Gotcha. And I guess the last question on that, what is a typical engagement like with a practice owner?
Yeah. So once a doctor is in ownership, we're month to month. So no crazy contracts. I hate contracts. Like I'm looking at my cell phone right now. These contracts are crazy, right? Like I don't do, or ADT. I remember getting into an ADT once. You cannot get out 3 years. Just forget it. Right. No one likes that feeling of having to have a service that you don't want anymore. And so we're a month to month once the doctor gets into ownership. Now, pre-ownership, me helping doctors do an evaluation and working them through an acquisition, or me helping someone identify a location, negotiate space, all the way through to grand opening. That is a contract in itself. And it's because there's a lot of work that goes into the front end. Right. And that's why there's a contract involved, because there's a lot of risk for me to deep dive and then not get paid later. So
right. Yeah. Okay. No, that's awesome. And so why, like to your point of, going from this beginning phase of, thinking about ownership and then getting to open, the practice's doors, why would someone want to, go in a route of a startup, and then why would someone on the other end want to focus on the acquisition?
Oh man, we literally could talk about this for 2 hours. Here's what I will say, and audience, you probably already know this. So let's dig in a little bit on this, right?
Yep.
But big picture, if you have a very clear vision, very crystal clear vision, you know exactly what your practice should look like, feel like, smell like, everything, right? And you hate the idea of working for someone. They're telling me what to do. I don't like their policies. I could do so much better. Or you're the doctor that's like, there's just so many better ways of doing this. Then you're like that entrepreneur spirit. That's that startup. Okay.
Yep.
Acquisition is, I'm a big producer. I'm sick of the man, quote unquote, taking a piece of my pie. All the staff love me anyways. I run this practice basically by myself. It's all on my shoulders, but you're only paying me 30%. And I want to make the whole 40 or 50% if you get your profitability that high. So that's a plug and play situation. You do want the autonomy, but you might not be super excited or super clear about what your vision is. Mm-hmm. You're good with a plug and play type scenario. and that's an acquisition person. And I will say this, there's not that much lower risk. I'm not saying that right, but there's not much more risk. That's what I mean to say. There's
Okay.
not much more risk in a startup. Everybody thinks startup's so scary. If you do it the right way,
Right.
there's a template, just like there's a template, quote unquote, for a crown or for
Right.
whatever. There's a template. So follow the template.
Uh, bless you. Bless you.
I was quick on that mute button. Did you? I was quick
Man,
on that. Yeah, that was
I didn't
good,
hear
right?
anything. I didn't hear.
I spared you guys from that sneeze.
That was timely.
Yeah.
So but you guys can help. So next level consultants can help with both of those, those types of, I guess, behaviors, or even just like, I guess, the type of person that wants to go in a startup route versus that, person that wants to follow the acquisition route. You can help with both sides of the coin.
Yeah, I think that's one of my biggest differentiators of helping doctors get into ownership, because there's a lot of consultants out there that will help you do a startup. And then there's a few consultants that will help you buy a rep or be a advocate for you on the buying side of a practice.
Right.
But there's very few, in my opinion. I don't know how many more. I know me, but I don't think there's a ton of me out there that can do both.
Yeah.
And most of my clients actually hire me not knowing which direction they're going to go. And we have a lot of conversations about, like, what are you looking for? What's your financial situation? That's where that banking experience comes in.
Yep.
Like, what are you trying to do with your life? Do you have a spouse or a partner that's supporting you financially, or you don't? Or how much cash? Do you have kids?
Right.
Like, all of that matters, because even if you had a crystal clear vision and an entrepreneur spirit, maybe financially startup isn't a choice. And I work through all of that. A lot of doctors actually come to me and say, hey, like, I can't find a practice to purchase. This is so difficult. And I'm like, it is difficult. And the inventory is very low. And how long do you want to try to do this until we flip over to startup?
Right.
It's usually like I hate to say it, but startups is kind of the redheaded stepchild. I don't know why. It's a really great way to do it if you have the right fundamentals. But I mean, I know why. Cash flow.
For sure.
Acquisition, you get instant cash flow. So I'll help people navigate either way. If you start going down the acquisition path and then flip over to startup, or vice versa, we're going down the path of a startup and you find a practice that's perfect, I don't care. I help you through that whole thing. So
that's awesome. So with someone who wants to go the startup route, what's the hardest, like, I guess, part of starting a practice from scratch?
Oh man, there's so many. I mean, ownership is difficult.
Yeah.
Just in general. I'm an owner. Lamar, you're an owner, right? So it's just difficult. And so I would say for a startup, it's the adjustment in their minds of, like, what they don't know yet. How do I say that? Two things. I'll say the first thing is not knowing what they don't know, and then toying with that and relying on the team, the equipment, construction, real estate, demographics, all these people involved, of relying on all these folks to help them get through. I guess that's why a lot of people hire me, is they don't have to rely on those people. We actually approach those people with a clear directive. But for most that don't hire a consultant, it's just relying on folks and not having any experience. And then the second thing would be, once they're like 60 days from open, it's the anticipation of being open and making a ton of decisions. It's they're not used to making that many. Most people, even me, all of these decisions, and they're all business decisions, mind you.
Right.
These aren't like clinical decisions that they can boom, boom, boom. These are business decisions, and it's difficult for them. So I would say those are the two biggest things. Other than that, once the practice is open, kind of works itself out. You got an associate job going on to keep money coming in. If you've done the right marketing, Lamar, right, to your tip in the hat to you, then you have patients coming in. It might be the third thing. The third thing will be knowing, coming down from the idea of working at corporate dentistry where you have 60 patients a day,
Right.
and having an expectation of 20 the first month.
Yeah.
That can be very challenging for my clients as well, but that's normal. 20 in the first month is like, yes, like
Yeah.
20, we'll build to 30, we'll build to 40, we'll build to
Yep.
and on. But they don't get that. They're so slow. It's just getting their head around that, but that's exactly what's supposed to happen.
Yeah. And I think too, as you know, you run your own business, right, as well, where you have to get to a point where, you know, there's an integrator and a visionary of the company, right? At some point, you got to have, and you can probably obviously speak to this more about from a practice management standpoint, practice ownership standpoint. And I don't know if partner is the right term, or really someone who can be your operations manager while you focus on, you
Yeah.
know, practicing, but also being the visionary of the company. And I
Mhm.
think where, you know, when we see very successful dental practices where we look from a marketing standpoint, they're making decisions at a much higher level. It's not, you know, they're still taking care of the customers, practicing, and they may hire an associate, but they're the vision of where they're going. There's a clear path on that, and they're just working to get there.
Yeah.
But they have the integrators in place as well. And I'd just love to get your take on, like, you know, any top, like maybe top 5 challenges you may see post close of a practice. Like just what from, you know, thinking about the visionary integrator aspect.
I love that question because I think a lot of doctors are clients, medical, dental, vet, whatever vertical. I feel like they usually want to delegate the visionary or the business decisions, and the bigger practices, there's probably enough cash flow to pay someone a nice salary to help you with those decisions.
Right.
My concern is if you want to own your business, own it and run it. Now this is the biggest challenge of, I think, ownership. You said top 5. Number 1, 2, 3, number 1, 2, and 3 of the 5 is being the CEO, the CFO, the CMO, the HR director. You're wearing all these hats. And yes, sourcing and accountability, what we call it, when you're pulling in leads, the dental assistant lead or whatever, the front office lead, that you want them to own their departments, but you can never. I guess my big thing with practice management is expecting someone that makes $20 to $30 an hour to care as much as you do.
That's
If
a good
you
one.
could find somebody that
Yeah.
does, do everything to keep that person, but don't expect it, guys, because
Right.
no one will care as much as you do. Period. End of story. Close this episode down. I'm serious, guys. You don't hire an office manager day one of your startup
Yeah.
thinking that person's going to run your business for you for $25 an hour. You're crazy.
Right.
You are the office manager. That person is your front office coordinator.
Yep.
A front office manager is someone that runs your business for you and probably makes $100,000 a year.
Yep.
And still, that $100,000 person a year is not going to care about your business as much as you do. So top 5, 1, 2, 3, right there.
Yeah, that's good.
The other things are, I guess it depends on startup or acquisition, but I think HR just in general is probably the next one. And I'm not saying what I reiterating, I'm saying just managing HR and dealing with the problems and understanding how to talk to people the right way without the conflicts. And oh man, us owners, we have a hard time these days. There's a lot of things coming at us, whether it's government or people or the COVID changed everything. I mean, hygienists and in the dental world. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Oh
So
yeah.
I guess my solution to that though would be start getting proactive practice owners. And what I mean by that is we always we are chasing when someone quits, we're very reactive.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone quits and then I go put a Indeed ad on and I try to find a replacement. Meanwhile, I'm struggling.
Yep.
I'm not collecting. I'm not serving my patient. I'm being it all, and we're all man down, and your whole team's suffering.
Right.
What if you filled that spot and then you kept the ad going and continued to interview to find great people? And yeah, if you hired someone and your wages got a little heavy, you now can go on a performance review with the rest of your team.
Yeah.
And you can shed some of the maybe not so great employees.
Right.
That is being proactive. And pretty soon, if you do that enough, you're going to find rock stars in every department. But you are going to be heavy in wages, understanding the financials. I'm not naive to that.
Right.
But we are in a world where people don't want to work. They don't show up for interviews. They want way more than they deserve.
Right.
Okay, that's fine. But let's go. Let's find that rock star. And put people on performance plans. And by the way, most people quit once you put them on a performance plan. Anyways,
Yep.
I'll stop. You can get me going here.
No, that's good. And I think even like I'm hearing a lot of my friends are just talking about how like people are like, hey, if I can't work remote, I'm quitting. And
I know.
Like, what
is going on? I know.
Working in dental practice.
I know. For the last 2 years, my executive admin, I'm looking down at my office. We took it remote. It didn't work, man. It didn't work. Yeah. And guess what? I went proactive, like my own advice.
Yeah.
And I found somebody, and she's sitting in my office, and we're crushing. It's such a better experience for everybody. And
yeah,
over time, sure, maybe remote opportunities later, but
right,
the foundation needs to be set. Foundation.
Absolutely. So I guess in closing, that's really, really good insights from a kind of a management, consulting standpoint, really just, why someone would want to go, in the path of a startup versus an acquisition, but helping them understand, like, once they close, what are some of the challenges, and then how do you combat that? But I guess, like, if someone would contact you today, right, like I say, a dental student or more of a veteran, dentist that are having these thoughts, if you could like prioritize your services, like, hey, here's how I can help you. Or even if you're looking at your current client base, you're like, hey, here's where we are really helping dentists, and these are kind of our kind of priorities in kind of a service level standpoint. In closing, kind of give, like, if a dentist is listening to this podcast, how can you, like, based on all the information you provided, really, how can you truly help them?
Well, it's actually disappointing because we're going through a rebrand right now, but it's the pinnacle of my name. It's next level. Yeah. I think for the associate that doesn't know what to do or where to go, let's take your career to another level, right, and get into ownership. I'm a huge advocate for ownership, because if you're willing to put in the work and the grit, and you want to better your financial situation, ownership is the way to go. Doesn't mean you don't have to do ownership. A lot of you feel that pressure. Stay as an associate if it doesn't fit you. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you have that drive and that want, then let's go. Okay. Yeah. And we help with that. If you're in practice and you're trying to figure out how to take your practice or your career again to another level, next level, it's getting super clear about what you're trying to do. I'm pausing on that because
it's big.
Most people don't. They're just being reactive. They show up, they grind the teeth, and they go home. And they hope all the bills are paid, and they hope that the team doesn't quit. And it's just a hope. Hope is not a strategy. It's getting clear about what we're trying to do moving forward. Right. Coming up with a strategy and executing. I think that's it. I mean, that's what consultants do.
Right.
And I might be able to expose bigger issues that we need to fix. I might be able to look at your hygiene team and say you're not producing enough. I might look at your front office and say you're not collecting right. I might
Yeah.
look at the dental assistants and say you're not whatever enough. Like, sure, I'm going to find some problems, but in your mind, you know your practice better than anybody.
Yep.
You've been in it for years. You're trying to take it to another level. There's a reason why you're getting stuck at that roadblock. It's why, you know, people go to the gym doing bench presses. You get stuck at number 4 if you're out of shape.
Yep.
And you need a trainer to grind you, maybe bump your chest up as you're trying to go up, or whatever, maybe pull you up, you know, whatever, to get you past that block. That's what we do. We put a strategy in place. We have resources to throw in depending on the scenario. But I think most owners lack the vision. And I know a lot of consultants use that. I hate that. I hate it, but I love it too. But it's so true.
Right.
You're lacking the vision of where you're trying to go, and you're not willing to make the changes to take you there. And by the way, do not hire me or any consultant if you're not willing to do what you have to do to take yourself to the another level. If it's just like, oh, I hope these guys do it for me. No, I'm not doing it for you. I'm showing you the path. I'm helping you with it. It's going to be difficult. I'll be there to support you. I've got all these amazing coaches to support your team, but you got to be the one that drives this thing. Right. Don't hire me if you're not willing to do that, period. So anyways, maybe make that a soundbite.
I love that. I mean, that's just so important. And I think the part of just being, it's okay to be uncomfortable, because you decided to be an entrepreneur, right? No one's
super uncomfortable, man. Super uncomfortable.
You have to be. If you're comfortable, you're not growing. That's how I look at it. And so it's funny because sometimes, like, so we work with dental intelligence, right? And dental intelligence is
big fan of DI. Yep.
Yeah, it's big software that really looks at the profitability, and you can see more what's happening with your new patients, existing patients, and have all the data you need about how your practice is growing, right? And sometimes we'll talk to dental practice like, hey, yes, we can do marketing, but we need to integrate with dental intel so we can truly show you profitability from a marketing standpoint. I'm like, nah, you got it. Like, what? Like, how can we truly help you if you're not ready to be a little bit uncomfortable with this type of data to be able to show you how to really grow your practice? So I love what you just said. It's just so important.
I listened to a podcast interview, folks. You're listening to podcasts. I listen to a podcast. And this guy was interviewing, I forget who it was. I got to really figure out this name because I re-quote him. I want to give him cred, but I don't even know who it is. But essentially, and a lot of people say the same thing, ideas are great.
Yeah.
But execution is everything.
Yeah.
Everybody has an idea. I want to go into business. I want to have a patent. I think this is awesome, or whatever. But execution is what makes us successful, because you have to fail. If you execute and you fail, great. If you execute and succeed, amazing. But it starts with execution.
Right.
And I think Lamar helps you execute. I'll help you execute. But you got to be willing to execute, because the ideas aren't the solve. That's why I was beating up on CPAs a little bit. CPAs are going to give you a lot of great ideas, but they're not going to make you execute.
Right. No, that's a really good way to put it. So, like if a dentist is listening to this podcast, how can they if they just want to engage with you, what's the best way to contact you? Then also, do you consult across the US, or is there certain regions that you consult in?
We're national. And last time I counted, we were in 20 states. So we're everywhere. You literally can get my cell phone on my website. I'm that open. I mean, my schedule looks like a hygienist's schedule, but I want to be accessible. That's my thing. If I'm not accessible, I'll get more help. So you could call me or text me or email me. My phone number is 720-309-9551. You could go to the website and check us out. It needs updated. It still looks pretty good, but the website is nxlevelconsultants.com. nxlevelconsultants.com. And like I said, you can schedule a spot, and I'll give you 30 minutes for free. No questions asked. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love the next level. Definitely taking these practices to another level, and
Trying
blow,
to.
blow his cell phone up because you need his help.
I love that. That's right. That's right, man. Yes. Well,
All right,
thanks,
Michael.
Lamar. I
Yeah,
appreciate your time, buddy.
absolutely. This was amazing. We'll include everything in the show notes. Excited to get this episode out there because you can help so many people. And thank you guys for listening. Again, I'm Lamar with MedRank Interactive. This is Michael with Next Level Consultants. This is the Healthcare Digital Marketing Podcast. See you guys next time.